And so much of what we live with is free. The whole of nature, all of what we do for our family, including most of the work that women do, even now that we're in the paid labor force as well, none of it counts in the systems we've set up in the world today. A market economy where the only thing that's measured is what's passed through the market leaves most of the value in our world invisible. And most societies in our world today still are mainly not producing for exchange, but are producing for use. I'm going to show you two ways that feminists have looked at the economy to make visible the things that really matter to the quality of our lives, to our survival, to our actual humanity. And we need to be moving to different frames to look at policy, look at each other, and look at the world. And it's so interesting that all the talks that we've heard are in one way or another saying we need to do it differently. We need to see things differently. We need to provide open, free, equally accessible, speedy fiber optics. We need to care more and put at the center of looking after children's pain, the relationships, the caring, the love, the family. We have to recognize those things and we have to honor those things. And we have to put our resources into those things. So I've just, without further ado, we'll pick up my trusty thing and skip. Hazel Henderson and Hilkka Pietilä are two very, very interesting economists who've had a bit of a different look at our economy. This is a picture of our economy. The bottom layer is Mother Nature. And it's not by chance, you know, that for millennia we've been seeing Mother Nature. There's a relationship of gift and care. It's not restricted to women, but the mothering that we all do takes many forms. Men and women do it, but it's a name for a relationship of gift and care that isn't measured, it's not exchanged, it's not commodified. The second one is she calls the love economy, which is what's given. That she has here as half the cake. It's actually much more than half the cake, but she calls it half the cake. Then we go up the GNP, GDP aspect, the market aspect of our economy, of our lives, which is private, public, and so on and so forth, and black market, is 1/2, according to her. She hasn't done the systematic measuring. But you can see, and the GDP, GNP, gross national product, gross domestic product, what is measured in the market is absolutely requires, it's dependent on the non-market stuff, on the gifts from the non-monetized part of the economy, and it is parasitical. We are told that the productive part of our world is what's in the market. And that is a reversal, if you want to say, of real value. But that's the frame which our policy is developed within. This other invisible PowerPoint is very, very, very important work that Hilkka Pietilä did in Finland. She hasn't done it recently, so the statistics are, the latest statistics are from the 1990s, but they've been intensifying in the same direction, and I'll show you the numbers on the next slide. But she looked at the economy, she divided it up in a different way than usual when she looked at it. Instead of looking at public and private sectors and so on and so forth, she looked at free economy, protected economy, and fettered economy. Now, the free economy was everything that isn't in the market. The protected sector is local production for local use, whether it's public or private. It might be local companies, it might be local farmers, it might be education, it might be transport. It's what we produce locally for use locally. And the fettered economy is the economy that's in the transnational trade. And one of the things that's, I think, one of the ways of understanding what's happening with the kinds of policies, the neoliberal policies that are shaping globalization in our world today, is the intensification of the market focus. And it's a process by which things are being shifted out of the free and protected sector into the fettered economy for trade, for profit from transnational trade, and for large transnational corporations. So there's a constant taking away from access for everyone and for a focus on production for local use into profit by trade. The idea is the trade is what is profitable, and the distortion of a view that sees only the market is extreme today. It used to be, I'm old enough to remember a time when it didn't matter what stripe government was, we were told that it was very important to increase our production in the market because it would improve our lives. The capitalist or the parties, the pro-capitalist party said, we want this because we want everybody to be able to have washing machines and have a better life individually. And the more socialist parties, and I'm talking all the different countries, the more socialist parties said, we want to increase our production because we want to have better schools and better healthcare and provide more and have better wage levels and better. They conceived of a good life very differently, but they talked about the importance of increasing production to improve our lives. And now we're told that we have to sacrifice our lives to increase production. It is very, very different, the message that's coming around the relationship to our lives and to the economy than it used to be even 30 years ago, 20 years ago perhaps. We have to get rid of labor standards, environmental protections, wage levels, pensions. We can't afford these because we have to be competitive in international trade. And that process of building international trade is happening, as I say, by bottling water and selling it instead of taking it out of your tap. Okay, that increases the GDP and the GNP. That's how I can, if given time, I can talk a little bit about how the GDP and the GNP are measured. I see my time is 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Is that the first 10 minutes? Oh, good. Okay, I will tell you about the GNP and the GDP. Okay, you have that pleasure in store. So the dynamic that's happening, as I say, is production being taken into transnational trade and large corporations that happened locally for local use or that happened in the free economy. You can see it with healthcare, funeral services, education. All those things are now going to be daycare. If we ever get daycare, if we ever get national daycare, there will be a big struggle about whether that's going to be provided by multinational corporations, the biggest one based in Australia, or whether that's going to be provided by the community, for the community, with the community, keeping those resources and recognizing those among ourselves. So first we have to get it, and we have to get it right in terms of the vision for transforming our world. The other thing that's happening is that with the maximization of profit and the failure to recognize any other value in our policy is that things where you can't make any money are being downloaded into the free economy, largely onto women. So that you're having theft and you're having burdens then placed. And I'll just show you the stats. They're all Hilke Pietele stopped doing this research, and nobody else is doing the research with this kind of frame. So, and I think it's wonderful. I'd like to do it, but can't possibly. The statistics that she found, this is the Finnish economy, which is a developed economy. Of course, for the less developed, we might say less commodified market economies, the stats are even more extreme. So, the 1990 figures, the free economy, the percentage of time of our working time that we spend in that economy is 48%, and the percentage of production of all of our production is 37.5, according to her in Finland. The protected sector, local produce for local use, whether it's public or private production, is 40% time and almost 50% of the value of what's produced. And the fettered sector, this is the transnational trade, production for transnational trade, that we are supposed to organize our whole economy around supporting and sacrificing everything to be competitive, is 12% work time and 13% of the value of what's produced and used. We need different glasses. We need a different framework for our policy development and for our valuing of each other in our lives than we have at the moment. We need that for all the things that have been spoken about in the talks before. So that we aren't trying to struggle to find a little place here for the valuable thing that somebody's bringing word is there and we could do. We have got to change the frame, the basis of our policy making and what we recognize. So let me move along to talk about the sort of distortion in a way of the GDP. The process of national income accounting was developed with John Maynard Keynes and associates as a way of budgeting and measuring and assessing a war economy in the Second World War. It was a very necessary thing to do at that time in terms of where the resources always went. Following the Second World War, when the United Nations was established, the United Nations adopted national income accounting as a across-the-board international system. And any country to belong to the United Nations had to begin doing this national income accounting. Now, these income, as I said before, they only count what's in the market, which means, and if you have a pristine river that people wash their clothes in and fish out of and go swimming in and get water to drink, it doesn't count. If you put a chemical factory on that river and you destroy that river, that's a big plus for the GDP. If you are living in a town where there's where the social fabric is so torn that you have to have 3 locks on your door, instead of leaving the door open, that increases the GDP. If you have an oil tanker that runs aground and really messes up beaches, the bigger the mess, the bigger the increase in GDP, because it increases market activity. So there's no negative in the GDP or the GNP. None of the costs of any kind of economic activity is considered. The other thing that I mentioned is it doesn't show all of the value of work that isn't paid, of things you can't possibly justify in terms of increase in GDP childcare. Well, you can actually. In fact, we're trying to do that actually. Big challenge to show the value in market terms of having good transportation, of having good education, of having the arts. This is the case for the arts now. Is it's really good for the GDP or the GM? We can do it. It's not impossible. But the point is, just like this last question, why do I want to be remembered? Why do we want to value these in market terms? Why don't we have another way to look at the world? Have the market where it's useful, but not think that that's what value is, or that everything has to be spoken of in those, even looking after children, caring, love. It's such a denial of our humanity, such a limitation, such an incredible straitjacket, and it's propaganda. I mean, if you define the world in a way that isn't true, and doesn't in fact serve anybody, you have to have a lot of power to be able to do that. So it's serving small groups that are getting very rich, and then of course they're giving away their money if they're sensible after they get very rich and save it all up. And of course in this context with this intensifying, so that everything is commodified, and we're talking organs, we're talking children for adoption, we're talking about human genomes, we're talking about seeds. I mean, and these are the struggles that are on today. How much does seed remain in the hands of the farmers all over the world, the peasants, the farmers, the indigenous groups that have been using the seeds, developing the seeds, sharing them, giving them, circulating them? Are those seeds going to stay there, or are the transnational corporations going to patent the neem plant or the Brussels sprout or whatever, and claim the seeds, and then require the farmers to buy it? And we have had cases in Canada where genetically modified seed blew into a farmer's field, and he was charged with using it without buying it and taken to court, and systems are set up for farmers to report on each other. And actually a little while ago, and this is I have 2.54 minutes, so I will tell this anecdote. One of the major developments of Monsanto was a Terminator Seed, it is called. It's a seed that you can use it once and then it doesn't make any more seeds. Now, this is fabulous for profit and for the market, because you have to buy seeds every time you sow them. And the other exciting thing about those seeds is they take a lot of input. You have to do an awful lot buy a lot of externals to make them work, which is great for the market. Now that caused so much outcry that there was fight back on that, but they're creeping in again. So the dynamic of a transnational market, the logic of it, is not production for use. Subtitle: production for use, not exchange. We have to start thinking of that and seeing that. GNP, GDP, and we have to stop making that the only frame and the only assessment and the only way to argue for government expenses. I want to, and what I'm talking about, when I'm talking about the absolute necessity of getting a different frame for looking at our policy and our ideas and about what we can do, part of that is valuing women. We have this system, this millennia. Thank you. I appreciate that applause because it's not a detail and it's not an afterthought. The things in this world that have been marginalized, under-resourced, disrespected, are things that have been given to women. They're not essentially women. It's not that only women can do these things, but the fact of the matter is that the respected things, the things that are considered to be important and productive, have been associated with men, and the actual essential necessary things to keep our communities going have been left with women. We have to change it. We have to change the valuing of all those things and be partners. We need balance. We need a world that isn't gendered in the way we're gendered now, where we're all human. And the human that we are is the caring. We are that way. We all are that way, given half a chance. And we're happiest when we're that way. But our hands are tied behind our back. We're all scrambling, even the privileged. We aren't there for each other as much as we'd like to be. And I want to read one quote in my last 10 seconds. I have 2 or 3 that I'd like to read you, but I'll read you the quote, if I can find the quotation, because I can't see this. Maybe I'll just put it up and stop. No? Oh, I will stop soon. There. This is a quotation from 1979. This is a feminist group writing. We refuse to remain on the margins of the society, and we refuse to enter that society on its own terms. The human values that women were assigned to preserve must become the organizing principles of society. The vision that is implicit in feminism is a society organized around human needs. There are no human alternatives. The market, with its financial abstractions, deformed science, and obsession with dead things, must be pushed back to the margins. And the quotation, womanly values of community and caring must rise to the center as the only human principles for everybody. Thank you.